Have you ever sat in a quiet room and suddenly realized how loud silence can feel? It's a strange thing, this kind of quiet. It's not peaceful, like sitting near a calm lake. It's the kind of quiet that settles in your chest and stays there. After 65, life slows down in ways we didn't quite expect. Kids are grown. The house is quieter. The phone rings less. And sometimes, even when people are around, it still feels lonely. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, you'd be surprised how many people over 65 feel exactly the same way. But here's the good news: loneliness doesn't have to define this chapter of your life. You don't need to rely on others to feel connected, fulfilled, or joyful. There are powerful, simple things you can do, starting today, to feel happier, stronger, and more at peace with yourself. In this video, I want to share 5 powerful ways to stay mentally strong and emotionally grounded after 65, even if you live alone or don't have many people around. These aren't empty tips or vague advice, they're real habits, real choices that make a difference. And the best part? You're in control of every single one of them. Let's begin with something simple, but surprisingly overlooked: creating structure in your day. You see, when we retire or when the demands of daily life shrink, time can feel endless. At first, that sounds nice, freedom. But over time, too much unstructured time can start to feel like drifting. Days blur together. We feel unmotivated, and before long, that lack of direction feeds into feelings of loneliness. But something powerful happens when you give your day a rhythm. I'm not talking about filling every moment with errands or chores. I'm talking about building a gentle routine that gives your day purpose. Wake up around the same time. Have a little morning ritual, maybe a warm cup of tea while listening to music or reading something uplifting. Set small goals for the day, even if it's something like watering your plants, taking a short walk, or organizing an old photo album. These little anchors in your day can bring you comfort and confidence. They remind you that you are in control of your time. And that feeling of being in charge, of having a reason to get up and do something, goes a long way toward boosting your mental well-being. Now, let's talk about movement. And no, I don't mean hitting the gym or doing anything that makes your knees complain. I mean gentle, intentional movement that gets your blood flowing and your body engaged. It could be stretching in your chair, walking slowly around the block, dancing to your favorite old song in the living room, whatever feels good for you. Here's why this matters: movement isn't just for your muscles. It's fuel for your mood. When we move, we release natural chemicals in the brain that help fight anxiety, sadness, and even brain fog. And the truth is, when we feel better in our bodies, it becomes easier to feel better in our minds. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. One lovely woman I spoke to, named June, told me she started doing chair yoga after her doctor recommended it. At first, she laughed, "Chair yoga? At my age?" But after a week, she said she started looking forward to that time every day. Not because it cured everything, but because it gave her a sense of progress, even if it was just one stretch at a time. That sense of progress made her feel alive again. All right, now that we've touched on routine and movement, let's explore something a little deeper: finding connection, not just with others, but with yourself. That might sound a bit odd, but stay with me. A lot of people think connection only comes from social interaction. And while friends and family are important, sometimes they just aren't available. People move away. Life changes. But the most lasting connection is the one you build with yourself. How do you do that? Start by listening. Journaling is a beautiful way to begin. You don't need to be a writer. Just grab a notebook and let your thoughts spill out. Write about what you're feeling, what you remember, what you dream about, what you miss. You'll be amazed at what comes up. Some days you might write just a few lines. Other days, a whole story. The point is to reconnect with your own voice, the one that might have gotten quiet over the years. You can also talk to yourself in the mirror. Yes, really. Look at yourself and say something kind. It might feel silly at first, but kindness isn't just something we give to others. It's something we owe ourselves, especially after everything we've been through. These practices don't require anyone else. No appointments, no phones, no social media. Just you, being honest with yourself, honoring your thoughts, your memories, and your presence. And that connection, when nurtured, can be one of the most healing things in the world. Now that we've explored how routine, movement, and self-connection can help, let's continue by looking at one of the most underrated sources of joy and purpose, creative expression. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not an artist or I haven't done anything creative in years. But here's the truth, being creative has nothing to do with being perfect. It has everything to do with expressing what's inside you. After 65, you've lived through decades of stories, emotions, and experiences. That's a deep well of richness. Why not let some of that out into the world? You could start small. Try sketching a memory from childhood, or writing a poem, even if it only rhymes in your heart. If you enjoy working with your hands, try crafts, simple woodworking, or painting. Some people knit or crochet blankets for babies at local hospitals. Others create scrapbooks filled with family photos and written reflections. What matters isn't the outcome. It's the process. When you're creating, your mind has a place to go other than worry. Your hands are busy, your thoughts are focused, and you're no longer just passing time, you're building something. That's powerful. I once met a gentleman named Harold who started carving small wooden birds after his wife passed away. He said it started as something to keep my hands from shaking in the quiet. Over time, those birds filled his shelf. Then he gave them to neighbors, nurses, even the mail carrier. He told me, it gave me a reason to keep the coffee pot on. That stuck with me. Sometimes it's the smallest act of making that keeps our spirits upright. Now, let's talk about serving others, even in the smallest ways. You see, one of the quickest ways to feel disconnected is to feel like you no longer matter. Like your role in this world has already been played. But the truth? Your wisdom, your experience, your kindness, they're needed now more than ever. You don't have to run a charity or volunteer full-time. It can be as simple as calling someone else who might be lonely. Sending a handwritten card. Baking cookies for a neighbor. Or just offering a smile and a kind word at the grocery store. When you reach out, you remind yourself that you can still make someone else's day better. And that does something profound to the heart. Serving doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. When you give, even just a little bit, you start to feel more connected to the world again. You realize that your life still touches others, still leaves a mark. And if leaving your home is difficult, remember that even online communities need warmth and kindness. There are places where older adults gather virtually to talk, share, and support each other. You can join forums, discussion groups, or even video calls. Some people have found deep, lasting friendships just through shared comments and stories. And finally, let's not forget the power of nature and spiritual reflection. You don't have to be religious to feel the beauty of the sunrise or the comfort of a quiet walk through a garden. Nature has a way of reminding us that life is still unfolding, even when we feel stuck. Just sitting outside for 10 minutes a day, listening to birds or feeling the breeze on your skin, can lift your mood. It grounds you in the present. And often, that's where peace lives, not in what was or what might be, but in the small, sacred moment of now. If you do have a spiritual practice, whether it's prayer, meditation, or simply quiet thought, lean into that. Light a candle. Sit with your breath. Speak your hopes out loud or simply feel gratitude for the little things, a warm blanket, a sunny window, a song that still makes your chest ache in a good way. Spiritual reflection isn't about solving loneliness. It's about finding wholeness, even when you're alone. It's about knowing that you're still deeply connected to your past, to others, to the world around you. These habits, building routines, moving your body gently, expressing your thoughts, creating something meaningful, helping others, and reflecting with nature, don't rely on anyone else. You don't have to wait for someone to visit or call. You don't need a packed calendar. What you do need is the reminder that your life, right now, is still rich with possibility. You're not just passing time. You're still becoming. Let's keep going by embracing something that many people overlook after retirement: learning. Yes, learning. It doesn't matter if you're 66 or 96, your brain still craves curiosity and discovery. And here's the beautiful part: the moment you begin to learn something new, you invite energy, purpose, and even joy back into your life. Think about something you've always wanted to explore but never had the time for. Maybe it's a language you heard once on a trip and wished you spoke. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's the history of your own family or hometown. You don't have to go back to school or take exams. You could watch documentaries, join a free online course, or simply read a book that lights a spark in your mind. Even 5 minutes a day of learning something new can shift your entire mood. One woman I know, her name is Doris, started learning how to play the ukulele at 72. She didn't know a single chord before she began. Now, she plays along to old Beatles songs and even taught her grandson a few notes over video chat. It's not about being perfect, it's about being alive. You see, loneliness often makes us feel like life is shrinking around us. But learning makes life feel wide again. It stretches your mind and your heart in ways that remind you, you're still growing. You're still here for a reason. And while we're talking about reason, let's gently touch on something deeper: self-worth. After a certain age, especially when routines change or loved ones pass, it's easy to feel like we've lost our place in the world. Maybe your kids are busy with their own lives. Maybe you've lost friends. Maybe your body doesn't do what it used to, and you wonder, what am I even here for anymore? But hear this clearly: you are valuable simply because you exist. You are not your productivity. You are not your usefulness to others. You are not just someone's parent, spouse, or neighbor. You are a whole human being with thoughts, memories, emotions, humor, wisdom, and love still to give, and still to receive. That love starts with how you treat yourself. So speak to yourself gently. Look in the mirror and find something kind to say, even if it feels silly at first. Say it anyway. Tell yourself, I'm proud of you for making it through hard days. Or you still matter. And on the lonely days, and yes, they'll still come sometimes, remember, feeling lonely doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. But being alone and being lonely aren't the same thing. You can be alone and feel deeply at peace. You can sit in your favorite chair, in the quiet of your room, and feel the deep warmth of being connected to nature, to memory, to a spiritual truth, to yourself. And when you build those small daily habits, moving your body, creating, helping others, learning something new, connecting with nature, you're not waiting for someone else to make life good again. You're taking it into your own hands. That's strength. That's resilience. That's living. So here's a gentle reminder. You're not invisible. You're not too old. You're not stuck. You're still you, and that's more than enough to build joy, one step at a time. If this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share a small habit that helps you feel better when you're alone. You never know who you might inspire just by telling your story. And if you found this helpful, give it a like and hit subscribe. We're building a community here where aging doesn't mean fading, it means shining in a new way. Here's to living with strength, joy, and a heart wide open, no matter your age. You deserve that. And you always have.